Join Dr. Stan Odle from Health Hours Clinic, Rosette's Main Road, this Friday, 28th October at 1:30 p.m. and next Friday, 15 p.m. for a frank talk on health right here on VOB 92.9.
And Dr. Stan is in. It's been a while since we linked up, but we're here together in the afternoon on VOB 92.9 FM. Dr. Stan, welcome to VOB 92.9 FM.
Ronnie, thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Barbados. It's great to see you. You keep getting younger. You got to give me a secret.
I almost have as much hair as you do.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a start.
Now, much has happened in between the last program, the last time we sat in here together, and now. Give us an update on what's been happening.
Absolutely. We were focusing on a product called Paragenine Plus. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be concentrating today, of course, looking at heart disease, and next Friday we're going to be talking about diabetes, which both issues, both cardiovascular challenges, should be of interest to the general population here in Barbados. But we, in the time between last few presentations and now, we've had tremendous testimonies of people who've been using the product to try to rid themselves of some serious challenges they've been courting for years and years, and that's always encouraging when people actually try the thing, they get results, and they tell other people, and of course they're changing their lives for the better. But for those that perhaps do not know who I am, my name is Dr. Stan Odle. My background is in pure the sciences, chemistry, physics, biology. First degree is in chemistry, of course. Work for major pharmaceutical companies in Britain, making the very pharmaceutical drugs that go in the drugstore shelves. So I like to say to folks, look, I understand, I know pretty well what's happening on the other side of the fence. I'm not a big fan of pharmaceutical drugs, but there's a time and place for those medications in today's world, and I respect that. I'm not here to knock that. What I'm about is showing folks that there's an alternative. There's a strategy that can be applied to the human system to get the body back into balance. My master's is in food science and nutrition, and of course my doctorate degree is in natural medicine, studied in Britain, Israel, and the United States. So that's a little bit about who I am, what Stan Odle is about. Now I operate the Health Hours Clinic on Rosette's Main Road.
And how often is the clinic open?
We're open Monday through Friday, God's spare. From 8 in the morning till 6 at night, and then on Saturdays we're there from 8 until 2. Of course, we visit 1 or 2 patients down the other islands, but that's our primary opening times.
And how can persons establish contact and relationship with your clinic?
Easily. Numbers, if they're overseas, of course, 246 area code for Barbados. The main clinic number is 421-7167, and the cell number, of course, 253-5858, or by email at myhealthdoctor@yahoo.com. That's myhealth, H-E-L-T-H, doctor spelled out D-O-C-T-O-R, @yahoo.com.
Now there is much which is touted as, in inverted commas, alternative being offered, if you want to say, to the public or on the market, whether it be a service or whether it be a product. What qualifies as being authentic and genuine when it comes to being alternative?
Well, perhaps I stand, and this is not a boast, I stand in perhaps a unique position in being a naturopathic doctor, having had the sort of background in pure science that I have had. So when I bring a product to the table, when I expose my patients and clients to a given product, believe you me, it is well researched, it is well tested. The product Paragenine Plus that we're going to be talking about, which boasts a key amino acid, L-arginine, has had Nobel Prize winning science behind it. If you look up in the scientific literature, or just did a Google search on L-arginine, or L-arginine, whichever way you want to pronounce it, and nitric oxide, there's well over 200,000 articles written up in the scientific literature on this product. So we're talking a product that has a lot of clout, an ingredient, with a lot of clout, and its inclusion in the product Paragenine Plus. There's very little out there that can compare with it. So we're talking items which work. And in a small community like we have here, it's important to bring things to the table which will get results for patients.
How do you move from first contact or query by a interested person to assessing that person and then recommending treatment for said person?
That's a great thought. And the way we do that, the way we do it in our clinic is like this. I'm very big. Once again, I'm leaning on my scientific background. I'm very big on diagnostic tools. So I have at my disposal in the clinic some pretty expensive, very powerful diagnostic tools. So I don't want to be guessing when you come sit and talk to me. And by the way, my consultation is free, totally free. There's no charge to come and sit and discuss your health issues. The only time you incur costs is if I recommend a product which I had to buy, so you got to pay for it, or a diagnostic service. So again, going back into diagnostics, I look to bring to the table, a patient comes in with a given illness, God knows what it is. I want to be able to say to that patient, I have a fair idea of what's going on within your body, because this diagnostic tool which I've applied to you or the other diagnostic tool is saying pretty much the same thing. So we can now map out a strategy or a protocol to address that issue. And fundamentally, in the approach that I myself as a naturopathic doctor uses, is to first of all stop putting in the junk which has caused the system to be out of balance in the first place. You've lost homeostasis. So we're talking about lifestyle and dietary changes, getting them to stop eating and drinking certain things which are negative in terms of the biochemistry of the body. We're also talking about a fundamental principle of cleansing and detoxing. What are we talking about? Liver, kidneys, colon, lymphatic system. That's important. And of course then giving them powerful nutraceuticals to help address the problem. The significance of that is for folks to understand the human body can correct itself. This is the way God has set it up. This is not a chance situation here, a biological instrument that we don't know what's going on. There are precise mechanisms which take place in the body. Every single crumb of food and drop of drink that we put into our body either goes to make good cells or ultimately good blood or bad blood. And we have absolute control of that. And that is the fundamental principle in which I operate, trying to educate folks that come to me here and yonder to take responsibility for your health, because everything you eat and drink will either determine whether you're going to be making good cells or damaging the cells that are there, and therefore setting your body up, yourself up for inflammation and ultimately disease and death. It's a no-brainer.
21 minutes to 2 o'clock. You're listening to VOB 92.9 FM. Online, www.vob929.com. Friday, October 28th, 2011. This is Health Are Us.
Join Dr. Stan Odle from Health Are Us Clinic, Rosette's Main Road, this Friday, 28th October at 1:30 p.m. and next Friday, the 4th of November at 2:15 p.m. for a frank talk on health right here on VOB 92.9.
Time a song you have to let fade out completely before you jump in. That's Frank Sinatra there, Strangers in the Night. 1966. That was only 45 years ago. And at that time, I think Dr. Stan, he would have been about 1 year old, 1966, correct?
Oh, you're so generous. You're so generous.
You look it.
Thank you, man. Let's talk a little bit about stuff that will not allow us to be strangers. And certainly for Barbadians of recent, this subject has not been a stranger to them, and that is heart disease. We're seeing folks, unfortunately, Ronnie, dropping like flies, I like to say, in this country and across the region with heart disease. It's a major, major, major concern. Of course, it's the #1 killer in America. In the U.S., every single 20 seconds, a person suffers a heart attack, and every 60 seconds, a person drops dead of heart disease. You're looking at well over 1 million deaths every single year. And to quantify that in a very dramatic way, 9/11, well over 2,500 persons perished on that fateful day. Every single day before that, and ever since then, every single day in America, well over 2,600 persons dropped dead of a heart attack or heart disease. So it's a horrendous figure. Nobody but nobody's talking about it. I really want to take my hat again and salute, and I'll probably do this, you know, as many more times in the next few times on radio, to salute our Prime Minister, the Honourable Frondell Stewart, in a recent message given to some UN high flyers, where he says that we need to look at putting a curb on the rise in the incidence of chronic non-communicable diseases. 2 months before that, I was on Morning Barbados, and I said I'm sounding the alarm. The folks interviewing me wanted to know what alarm I was sounding, and it was exactly that. I was trying to say, look, unless we stop this madness, take a close look at the way we're going. We're going to bankrupt this wonderful country because we're not going to have sufficient monies take out of budget to pay for health care costs. Those costs are rising. It's our fault as Barbadians. It has nothing to do with government. And we got to stop this madness. So I was really, really pleased and proud of the fact that at the highest level in this country, folks understand what's going on. But we have to move folks, Ronnie, from this nonchalant attitude of awareness into a preventative kind of mode, and take more responsibility. And it's all going to happen with education. It's all going to happen with people talking in the schools, from the pulpit. You guys got to get me some free time on here to talk about it too, rather than having me pull pocket all the time. But we've got to get the word out there. We have to get the word out there.
And Dr. Stan, we have to make it clear that you're not speaking to persons who are exclusively over 40 or over 45. When you're talking about heart disease, I am seeing obituaries in the newspaper, persons in their late teens, mid-20s, early 30s. When I make queries, they died of a heart attack. Absolutely. I'm saying heart attack in teens, 20s, and early 30s?
You better believe it.
What are you seeing in relation to that trend?
It's a trend which I see no let-up in the near future. It's going to get worse. Why is it going to get worse? Well, when we have, for example, diabetics, that's also cardiovascular disease, 14 and 15 years old, can you think what will happen 10, 12, 14, 15 years from now? We're going to lose a whole generation of folks. Why? Because of exactly what they're eating and drinking presently. They're eating a bunch of junk. There's nothing of value going into the body. I'm not going to name particular snacks or foods, but folks understand. You know, we all grew up with some measure of common sense, meaning in terms of dietary habits, or foreparents or grandparents recommending and suggesting that we do certain things. We've drifted so far away from that goalpost, it's not funny. And this is the price. This is the result we're paying. Unfortunately, we've got this government paying for all of our mistakes. And I'm saying this or any other administration, that madness has to stop. We have to take back responsibility for our health, begin to eat properly, drink properly, educate from the cradle up, from going into nursery pretty much. Educate parents that, look, what you're giving your child will ultimately cause you to spend a ton of money. And I wish I could have said to them at the same time, don't expect the government to bail you out, you know. But some folk may ask, Ronnie, well, what is cardiovascular disease? Cardiovascular disease is really a suite of diseases, I like to call it, which include hypertension, congestive heart failure, stroke, diabetes, peripheral arterial disease, critical limb ischemia, vasculogenic impotence. You know, guys cannot have an erection, morning, noon, or night. Coronary heart disease and sudden cardiac death, where a person may just, you know, crash, come out from having a workout, or maybe in bed, they go to sleep and never wake up, that sort of thing. And how many times for this year we've heard of persons, I mean, there's a nice young man that went to bed apparently, you know, not too long ago, a couple months ago, and he didn't wake up, okay? Folks, there is a solution to all of this, and